Welcome to the Wellness Whisperer podcast. Today, I have the great pleasure of introducing you to a friend of mine and someone who's doing marvelous work in the anti-aging, positive aging workspace. It's Lisa Murphy. She is a yoga instructor and aging expert in Asheville, North Carolina. Let me tell you a little bit about Lisa, who I've known for over 12 years. She grew up in a small town of Iowa with her parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles who grew their own food. She went to college like a good girl, got a degree in actuarial science like a smart girl, and then got married like most girls. Then she left her corporate gig to travel the world and study Eastern philosophy and teach yoga to members of the royal family in Dubai and follow and support her now ex-husband. She got divorced, her world fell apart, and at age 47, she decided to make her best comeback yet. Now in her late 50s, she is very young in spirit. The world is bigger and brighter than ever before, and she's a healthy aging expert running her own business since 2013. Lisa's mission is to help professionals optimize their resources to live longer, happier, and healthier lives. She empowers people of all ages with her signature RAV protocol, which we'll talk about, so they can age healthfully and in order to maintain a relevant, active, vibrant life. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Brenda. I can't believe it's been only 12 years. I feel like I've known you a lifetime, which I guess that speaks to our connection, right?
Does. We're old souls and we have both reinvented ourselves late in life. So I think we are living testimony that it can be done and it can get better. It's all up to you, to us.
It's never too late. It's never too late.
So when you were living in Kansas City and you were very active in the yoga community, you were that was your main bread and butter. You were doing yoga classes. Tell us about your living and your sustenance in Kansas City.
Well, look, I was married, right? So I was fortunate enough to be in a partnership, and I was one of those people that teaching yoga was just kind of a side gig for me. And then when my now ex-husband, as you mentioned, and I split up, I really thought my world was over. And if you've ever tried to make a living teaching yoga, it isn't so easy. So I continued to teach yoga. And as you mentioned, I still do teach yoga, but I realized that I needed to create more for myself. And that was a massive comeback for me. I had to shift gears, and I believe you and I sat down to lunch and you told me I needed to put my big girl panties on. And so that's what I did. And I can't believe, thank you for that. By the way, sometimes that's just what we need. And I can't believe now it's been 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And in Lisa's case, they're little girl panties because she is and for yoga, she's so flexible. She now hikes the mountains in Asheville. So good for you for stepping in and becoming your own. I'm just so proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell me about how you shifted and transitioned to Asheville, North Carolina, which seems like everyone's dream. How did that happen?
Well, fast forward several years, and the ex-husband's in the past, and I have a wonderful new partner in my life. And this was even before 2020, before COVID. We decided that we just wanted to live someplace where we had access to more blue sky, more sunshine, to the mountains, a little bit closer to the ocean. We wanted both Rob and I wanted to be closer to the things that really turn us on and fuel us, nature, the outdoors. And so my actuarial science background came in very handy. I made a spreadsheet and we started keeping data on some places that we thought might be interesting. And Asheville won.
Yeah. Well, I follow you vicariously through Facebook and see you hiking and leading retreats. And I see your partner, Rob, and you're both so fit and so happy. And it really is an inspiration for all of us in our 50s. I'm turning 62 this week, so I'll fully disclose. It's not over. It's just starting. And though I'm not in my sexual prime, I consider myself in my creative prime. because there is actual evidence that says women between 60 and 80 is when they come on fire, and when they can teach, and when they can write, and when they can author a book, when they can lead yoga retreats. So it is a new chapter. So describe, do you have a yoga, or do you have a retreat coming up soon? And what do those look like, and who attends?
Thank you so much for asking. Yes, I do. My Spirit of the Mountain yoga retreat is coming up at the end of April, and there are still spots available, just saying. I have a really diverse group coming. This is the second year I've done this retreat in the same location. It's at a lodge in the Smoky Mountains, and it's just a beautiful, peaceful, inspiring place. And the ages of my attendees range from people in their, let's see, I had a woman in her 40s up to 80. Is absolutely amazing. And I think what you mentioned about we can just be coming into our prime at any age. And I'm so inspired by the members of my own yoga community, my retreat attendees, my clients, because it is truly never too late. It is never too late to start. It's never too late to grow, to learn, to change. In fact, I would argue that when we stop, that is when it becomes too late. If we stop challenging ourselves, if we stop being inspired and learning and striving and being curious, that's when we start to age and get old. Aging is required, right? Aging is mandatory. However, getting old is truly an option. And I think that's up to us.
Yeah. I posted a quote from Benjamin Franklin, believe it or not, and he said that we live until we're 75, but most of us die at 25.
Yeah.
That was, hundreds and hundreds of years ago that he said that. And it's so true. I'm a people watcher. When I go to Sprouts or Whole Foods or wherever I'm grabbing my food, I look around at people. Most of the time when I cheat and go to Walmart Market or Red X is when I see the people that are dead at 25, 35, and 45, just leaning on their carts and getting those pastries and Cheetos and the six pack of this and that. And they've just given up, it seems like. They're just the walking dead. And that's a choice.
Well, and I think it's, to be fair, it's really can be really confusing and difficult in our society today, especially if you are following pop culture, social media, the so-called diet and wellness industry. I mean, there's not a lot of positive aging messaging out there. Madison Avenue is not going to sell us, you can do and have anything you want. They're going to sell us a pill or a potion or a program. And I mean, I'm all for all of that if it's helpful. But yeah, aging is not sexy in our modern world,
Yeah,
especially for women.
Exactly. And we know that the anti-aging industry is booming. I don't know how many billions of dollars they're spending to promote Botox and the fillers and the freezers and the plastic surgeries and the lip injections. But I pulled an article, I think it was from Allure, that said that the Kardashians, of course, started this to epitomize the frozen look. And plastic surgeons used to absolutely oppose putting too much unnatural things and toxins in your body for fillers because it would look unnatural. And now the unnatural frozen look is what people are coming in with pictures saying, I want to look like this. It just seems so wrong. Like, where is our common sense gone in society if we're believing the frozen look is the healthy look?
I feel that if that makes you feel good, then I'm all for that. It's whatever is going to appeal to you, and everyone's different. I've chosen to embrace my age. I'm 57 in most ways, and I do a little glaze on my hair because I'm not quite ready to turn gray. But some women are. So I think it's a very personal decision and a personal choice. And I respect every woman's right to choose how it is that they want to age. As long as they feel good, I think that's okay.
Mm-hmm. No, you're much more diplomatic than I am, so I'm glad that you're balancing me out. I'm going to grab a couple. I was looking up influencers on Instagram who are in our mindset. They want to promote positive aging versus anti-aging, pro-aging, and let's just embrace who we are. And one of the women is Susan M. Long, and I will put this in my description box of this podcast, but she has an Instagram page called women.60.plus. She's a photographer, and she welcomes anyone in your 60s to call her, contact her so she can do a photo shoot with her. She has these beautiful, very diverse generational, every race, color of women that are just looking fabulous in their 60s. Then there's one, if you follow the hashtag aging gracefully, there's over 1 million posts out there. So we're trying to turn the corner on this anti-aging thing. And back to you saying you're glazing your hair right now, there are a lot of gray women bloggers. Gray with a T, Great Days Ahead, is embracing her gray. And Silver Liberation has 78,000 followers. And then the one I found most fascinating was a doctor, and I am going to look her up. It's Kay, Cleve, CLEAVE.com. She's a doctor, and she has a handle called Aging Disgracefully, which I love, very sassy. But she's amazing. She used to be an acrobat in her younger days, and it shows her doing a somersault into a chair, a somersault into her car. And I think she's over 80. So back
Amazing.
to it's a mindset, and just keep your body flexible, which you're doing with your clients.
And I have to mention one of my favorite positive aging influencers is a former client and a friend now. And her hashtag is age inappropriately. So she's all about aging inappropriately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she's amazing. Mandy. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to her too. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, can you share? I read in Harvard Gazette, since you're a yogi, and you've certainly inspired me because you're much more flexible than I am, but I'm trying. I'm still after it. I'm still going to my practice on the mat. He said there is a potential for a movement-based mind-body practice to be very helpful in promoting healthy aging over lifespan because yoga provides flexibility. It's a spillover. And yoga, maybe you can speak to this, Lisa. It's been around for, I don't know, centuries.
Thousands of years. Yeah, thousands of years.
And it really probably has, if I've looked up a yoga tutorial book, it probably is about mindset as well as body, correct? It's mind, body, spirit.
Well, if we really go back to the origins of yoga, I mean, let's just be really honest. It was in ancient India, what is now modern day India. It was for Brahmin, which is the upper class men. And it was simply a tool to prepare the mind and the body for meditation, for enlightenment. So I think we really need to be real transparent about the origins of it. However, I believe today yoga is a beautiful tool, not only for physical health, but as you mentioned, for mental and spiritual health as well. It keeps the body healthy and it prepares us for a different mindset, should we choose to step into some of the more advanced phases of yoga. I consider yoga a tool for understanding myself better and transforming. Right. So there are so many different phases of yoga. But if we talk about, yoga pants and doing down dog and stuff, which is fantastic, there are so many benefits. And I believe the Harvard article you referenced talked about helping yoga as a tool to help with strength and flexibility and mobility, and therefore helping us to age more positively in our bodies. And without a doubt, in my online yoga community, the ages are, I believe, maybe late. Oh, actually, that's not true. I've got some young women in their 20s who join with their mother, which is unbelievable to see this intergenerational yoga practice together. And my oldest yoga student is 86. And strength, mobility, flexibility, just showing up, connection. I mean, absolutely. I think the practice of yoga, any practice really that is physical and spiritual and mental, has the potential to take years off of how old we feel.
Yeah, it's been essential in my work life. I remember way back when I was in real estate, a very stressful career. And that's when I was introduced to yoga. One of the uh, realtors started a class because she saw how stressed out her peers
Mm.
were, and it hooked me immediately. And that was 30 years ago. So I know the mind piece of it, and I feel um, the just the strength
Mhm.
of it as well. And I love looking around my classes. I have a gentleman that attends Thursday nights with me, and I have no idea, but I would assume he's in his 80s. And he can hit those poses. It's just very rewarding to watch everyone. You shouldn't look around. Everyone's on a different level. But I look around to applaud people that
Yeah.
they're there, that they're showing up, that they're doing something healthy for their body and not
Yeah.
just choosing to be a couch potato, which our society has become way too sedentary. Can you speak to that and how that impacts negative aging?
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think, you know, Madison Avenue has bombarded us with messaging that all you need to do is buy this product or take this pill or drink this potion, and therefore you don't have to get off the couch. And it's a very, very, very dangerous message.
Yes.
And there is no bypassing the basic tenets of good health. And a physician that I support, I remember interviewing her one time and asking, do you really need to exercise? Like, do you really need to? And her answer was, absolutely. If you don't move it, you will lose it. And this includes not just our joints and our heart, but also our brain. We are learning so much now. Modern science is teaching us that exercise movement is not just important for being in good physical shape, but for brain health as well. And to help stave off or even perhaps improve any mental dis-ease. We've got a lot of dementias in our world these days, Alzheimer's, a lot of, brain-based diseases. We know that exercise of all kind is really helpful for that as well.
Yeah, I was peeking around my shoulder because I was looking for a book I was reading. I said, "Oh, here it is." Just glancing in preparation of talking to you, and this is Younger Next Year. It's by two physicians: "Live Strong, Fit, and Sexy Until You're 80 and Beyond," by Chris Crowley and Henry S. Lodge, MD. So they're two medical guys, and I forgot I even had it, but it really emphasizes back to what you're saying, Lisa. They're saying strive for 6 days of activity
Mhm.
every day, every year, every week, regardless. And they had a patient that couldn't even walk to the mailbox without, having to sit
Yeah.
down and have a glass of water. He was so obese, I think 100 pounds over his ideal weight. And he moved to Florida, as you did with Asheville, so he could have access to more year round sunshine
Mhm.
and being outdoors. And he finally built up where he could walk to the beach, which was 3 miles away, and then back
Yeah.
home. And he wrote his doctor and he's like, listen, I couldn't get to the mailbox, but now I can do 6 miles a day, every day. And I've lost 75 pounds. And that just
Amazing.
gives me chills because anyone can do it, no matter how much you've declined. It just starts with that first step.
No, we start where we are. We start right where we are. We accept ourselves in the present moment as perfect. And that's hard for us. Again, society doesn't want us to do that, especially as women. As we get older, we have been told not to embrace aging like you and I are doing. We've been told that no, you have to try to go back and look younger. So if we can just forget all of that nonsense, whether we want to color our hair or get Botox or not, accept where we are right now in this present moment as perfect. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that we're endorsing where we are and that we have to stay there forever, but we have to get grounded with the present moment so that we know how to get to where we want to go. It's like if you're going to go someplace in your car and you want to put the destination in your GPS, you have to tell it where you're starting from. Otherwise, it doesn't know the directions to give you. Yeah.
And back to knowing where you're at and where you're going. My stepdad passed away, I think it was 10 years ago. And my mother was so looking forward to traveling with Larry.
Mm.
And by the time they retired, I think he died within 6 months. It just didn't happen. And lifestyle came into be. So we shouldn't delay, because I know at 62, I want to be traveling for the next 25 years. And I want to be able to get on a train in Milan and fly to Seattle and not have to have a wheelchair meet me at the gate. So what you're teaching was that strength training. I remember, just doing what's it called when you sit down in a chair?
Yeah. Chair.
Chair. It helps you be able to not have to have handlebars on your toilet and be able to get out of your chair without having to push a button for the chair to lift you up. Just these basic strengths that you're going to need to sustain your independence. And that's really what we need growing older, is our independence. We cherish that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the current guidelines that, most of the smart people, the CDC and the NIH and the American Heart Association, they tell us that everyone needs a minimum of 150 minutes of moderate movement per week. So that is about that 20 to 30 minutes per day, 5 or 7 days a week, depending. That's what we need to maintain a minimum health. So if you want your heart to be baseline healthy, you've got to move your body 150 minutes a week of moderate activity. You can also do 75 minutes of vigorous or any combination of the two. And if you want to actually improve on where you are, it's up to 300 minutes, which that equates to about an hour a day, 5 days a week. So however, if you're like the gentleman you described who you can't quite even walk to the mailbox, forget about those numbers. Start where you are, accept it, acknowledge yourself as perfect right where you are, and work to increase by a minute a day. Sustain that for a week, 2 minutes a day the
And
next week.
it's never too late to surprise yourself. I went to my sister's house for Thanksgiving. My sister and I are polar opposites. I mean, she's tomboy, never wore makeup, joined the army, worked at Tyson's Chicken, driving the little forklift, and has been very overweight and smoked her whole life. And at Thanksgiving, we went down to her basement. She goes, "I want to show you something." She had bought an exercise piece of equipment. I think it was by the that karate expert. I'm forgetting his name now. But she was like, "I'm going to lose 50 pounds, and I'm down here every day." And I was so proud of her. I was like, "That's just awesome."
Start where you
Just
are. And
right.
small hinges really do swing big doors. Yeah.
Right, right. And they say if you're not getting enough activity, to get a dog. My mother just rehomed a dog, and she'll be 84 in July. I think that dog's keeping her alive, because her and
Mm,
Joey go for a walk twice a day. It wouldn't happen without Joey.
yeah.
So,
Mm.
yeah.
It can be so simple. And the solution to some of our problems might be within our own household. And your mother brought the dog in. But one of my favorite client stories is I had a client who was really resisting exercise. And so, first of all, we quit calling it exercise and we switched to movement. And then I said, "Do you have a dog?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh my gosh, why don't you walk your dog in the morning instead of opening the door and letting him out in the backyard?" Well, it changed both of their lives, right?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of dogs, you have two incredible dogs. Tell us about your dogs. I've always loved looking at the pictures. What are their names?
Thank you. Oh, thank you for asking about my babies. Yes, we have two rescue poodles. One is a standard poodle. Her name is Sylvie. And the other is a miniature poodle, and his name is Coda. And just a shout out, you can rescue any breed that you want. They're absolutely beautiful poodles, and they keep us young because poodles are very, very energetic. They need a ton of exercise and they love getting out into the mountains. Yeah,
So
we love them.
they go hiking with you and Rob.
They absolutely go hiking with us. And I'll tell you, the little one, Coda, he's always leading the pack. He's always way out in front. That little guy can do 6 to 8 miles, no problem.
Well, we've talked about the celebrity culture. We've talked about how this all came to be, the anti-aging, the shaming, which I read, I'm in marketing and advertising, that it really started happening in 1960 when the Madison Avenue people started advertising the brassieres and the girdles and suck it in and have a 23-inch waist and you have to look like this to be the perfect wife. And that's when it began, and it's just escalated now. So you got to look like a Barbie, which is not true. Beauty is, everyone has a beauty, inner and outer. So I love your anti-aging, positive aging movement. I want to talk about culture. I'm in the Midwest. Midwest people tend to be a little plumper, I think, as I've traveled, because they don't have the year-round access to the outdoors. We're kind of hibernating for 6 months. That's not an excuse. There's gyms, there's walking. You moved to Asheville to have access to the Smoky Mountains and be outdoors more. Um, what do you think the culture of aging is in America? Do you think we are respectful of our elders and aging here in the USA?
Well, that's such a full question. I think in general, older women are not respected and revered, perhaps like they once used to be. Um, an older woman used to be sought out for her experience and her knowledge and perhaps as a mentor. And I think women today, as we age, we tend to sort of let ourselves get cast aside. And so of course it's different, and this is, choose your friends wisely, right? Like, what groups are you hanging out with? And if you're hanging out with a group that doesn't respect you as a middle-aged and older woman, then find a new group. I think it does vary geographically. Here in Asheville, there is an outdoor culture for sure, so people come here to experience that. I think it really does just depend, but yeah.
Yeah, I was curious about the Asheville culture.
Yeah.
Is it very diverse there? Is it a lot of retirees or um, millennials also, or what's the?
Yeah, there are a lot of retirees here in this area because the weather's so lovely and people want to come and retire here. There is a lot of that. There are a lot of dirt baggers and a lot of people living in vans and just having access, going climbing every weekend and or actually every day, every week. So yeah.
I was reading. I googled what the where older people are most revered and respected, and the countries that came up most were Eastern Asia countries. Japan, China, Korea, and Vietnam really um, respect and take and respect their parents, respect the elderly. I think there's even a law in one of those states that if you do not revere your parents and take care of them, they can sue you. So it's not only in the culture, it's instilled legislatively, which I was
That's
surprised.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
In the city that if you want to age anywhere and can afford it, move to Switzerland. That's the number one place where you have access to anything you need. It's paid for. You get immediate care, health care. It's just a whole different environment. We have a long ways to go in the States.
We do. That's why we're talking. We're doing our part. We're doing our best.
Yeah, we're carrying the torch. Anti-aging. This is back to why I like that you are a positive aging expert. There was an article that said, "Death to the anti-aging movement, please." Kill it. We need to quit calling it, because we have to age. And why would we be calling it anti-aging? It's like anti-water, anti-air, anti-war. It's not. It's part of life. And you're embracing your life cycle I'm assuming you're kind of a spiritual being as well, being a yogi.
Oh, absolutely. And I think really, yes. And forget all of that, because when people say, "Oh, getting old sucks," and "I hate it," it's like, are you kidding me? It's it's better than the alternative. And I mean, right? The alternative is that we're dead. So I don't know. There may be a few outlying examples, to be fair, but I mean, Geez, you know?
Well, I will say, right before our call, Lisa, I had a call with my RN, who is my hormone specialist, and there is better living through chemistry. And I am embracing that there are some chemistries that she is prescribing me that I'll be picking up today that I desperately need that my body's not making anymore. So the beauty of the place and time that we're in right now is there is help. If your thyroid is off, if you're fatigued, if your hormones aren't producing anymore, there's a little bump that you can get with specialists. So that's a beautiful space and time to be, versus just, okay, my body's not making any more testosterone, I'm done, I'm tired. My body's not making any more cortisol, I'm done, I'm tired. um, but you especially will probably emphasize this: first, food, exercise, mindset, and then check out if there's a medical issue.
Absolutely. My four pillars of wellness that I talk about in all of my programs are food, mood, rest, and movement. And let's just get back to the basics, and before we reach for the pill or the potion, are we covering the basics? Food. Are we eating enough plants? You don't have to be a vegetarian or a vegan, but you have to eat a variety of plants for good gut health. End of story. Mood. Are you managing your stress? Unchecked stress is deadly. I love the story about your real estate broker or the person that you were working for, because there was a recent study in, I believe it was Deloitte or Forbes. I can't recall the source, but I can find it for you, that most executives are concerned with inflation and, of course, the company bottom line, which they need to. Yet 1 out of 3 executives are struggling with fatigue and poor mental health. So the person that you referred to, good for her for recognizing that her colleagues, her team, her employees needed some stress management. So mood, what's going on in between your ears? Rest. We have bought into this hustle culture where I'm so busy is like a badge of honor. No, we need enough sleep. We need downtime. And then, of course, we've already talked of movement. So these things are just basic. And the good news is most of these things are free and readily available that you can just do on your own. And then if you're still having issues, by all means, we are in a society where we have access to so much amazing science and chemistry, as well as all the holistic stuff. So why in the world would we not make use of every resource that we have?
Yeah, I love those 4 pillars. Thank you for sharing that. And I will emphasize, especially being in the healthcare marketing world for 20 years, find the right practitioner to help you, whether that's a functional medicine doctor, integrative medicine, a hormone specialist, a thyroid specialist. There's so many people out there that really can deep dive into what you're personally going through.
Mhm.
I love it that Cheyenne, in my telemed visit today, prescribed a carrot a day for me. She goes, I want you to eat 1 raw carrot every morning along with an electrolyte drink. And I'm like, what physician is going to tell you that? That is not what you would hear from your primary care doc. They're not going to go there.
That's
But
awesome.
talk about your vegging with Lisa. What's been going on? I know that I've watched a lot of your YouTube videos that you're huge
Yeah.
at growing your own food and vegging. What is that?
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I have an online cooking show called Veg with Lisa, and I do it on Facebook Live every Thursday at 12 noon Central. And then the little videos are also on my YouTube channel. I love to cook, and I've always, growing up in Iowa and having access to gardens, I've always just loved good, wholesome food. And so it's just a fun way to highlight some healthy recipes. 10 minutes or less, the show is, but yeah.
Yeah, and
And
you make the cooking more exciting than Lydia does with her
thank you. Wow.
cauliflower dish. That sounds fabulous. So
That's a pretty high bar. That's a pretty high bar. Thank you for that.
the other thing that I notice with our commonalities, going through midlife, reinventing ourselves, finding our best selves, and keeping up with our physical strength through yoga, is we both carefully selected our partner. And you've
Mhm.
selected a partner that fills your soul and is active.
Mm.
I married in 2018 for the first time to a man who bikes often 20 miles in an outing 3 times a week and goes to the gym at least 3 days a week for strength training. He's 66 and he looks 50 and hot. So I'm saying pick the right partner who
Yeah,
has commonalities with your health goals. What
that's
do you say?
awesome. Well, I think perhaps that's one of the benefits to being divorced. When we're younger and you waited to get married, when we're younger, we may choose partners for different reasons that seem important to us at the time. They are important to us at the time. And as we grow and change, that grows and changes. And yeah, 100%. I think our choose your friends, your relationships of all kinds in alignment with your values, and especially a romantic partner. And one of my values is health, wellness, being outdoors, nature. And so that was very important to me in in the partner that I did pick now, and that's Rob. Yeah, so same. He's amazing. He's an ultra athlete, and yeah,
Yeah,
100% agree with
and
you.
that just lights you on fire because if you were out jogging with the dogs and he was a couch potato, that's not very fulfilling. So it's just great to have a partner to go along and enjoy a sunrise or a sunset or a downward dog or whatever you're doing. Namaste.
I think if we made all of our picks, not just relationships, but the work that we do, the people we hang out with, the activities we're involved with, let's get involved with those based on our values. Do the things that we're doing align with what's important to us? And when we do that, there's going to be less contrast, less conflict, less disconnect in our lives. And we're going to find ourselves much happier.
I will share another personal story. Last year, about this time, I walked away from a very high paying corporate job, very prestigious. I liked the work. Um, but I was exhausted. I
Mm.
was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue and I'm still recovering from that. And I chose to walk away and find my joy. And no, I'm not making the 6 figures anymore, but I'm smiling again. I'm alive again. I'm getting to do something creative with this podcast, The Wellness Whisperer, and you're doing such wonderful work with your retreats. So you're right. Find what aligns with you that lights you on fire and doesn't flame you out. Because that's in corporate America with
Yeah.
executives and frontline workers. You look at what happened with our healthcare workers during the pandemic. They were just exhausted. It just wasn't equipped for that
Yeah.
volume.
Absolutely. And if you have been in a position where you've experienced burnout and say you have switched jobs or you're taking a sabbatical, it's going to take time. Be patient with yourself. That healing process, the emotional, spiritual, physical healing process, it's not going to happen overnight. And I was just in a room with some very smart women talking about this very thing. And stepping down from the main stressor, stepping away from the flame that you described is only the first step. We have to rebuild in a intelligent, intentional way. Because if we take a break, we take a sabbatical and we jump right back into another high pressure job, unlike what you wisely did, we're simply going to get more of the same. So if you are one of those women who has experienced burnout and you have stepped back, be patient with yourself and be very, very intentional about how you rebuild your life, just like we've done in
Mm-hmm.
middle age and older, right? In choosing partners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And back to what one of your yogi members said about the community of finding the right tribe to hang out with is
Mm.
so important. And it's so strong because I could just pick up the phone like we did and we just started going because of that connection we had. And the same thing with a friend of ours, Sarah Kachera, who was also on the Wellness Whisperer talking about Ayurveda. We hadn't talked in 10 years, but it just, picked up right away. So that find your tribe, whatever it is, a book reading club, a church group, a hiking club, retreats, yoga. It will nurture you. I think that's what we're looking for in society more than looking like we're 20 again. We want to feel nurtured.
And supported. Yeah. There are some amazing research bodies of work that speak to connection and how it's every bit as important to our health as some of the other things that we've discussed, what we eat, how many steps we walk each day. And we
Mhm.
learned that during COVID, that loneliness became an epidemic on its own. And yeah, whether it's an online platform, if that's what you choose to do, or in person, find someone, find a tribe, find people that you connect with, and that's good for your heart as well.
Oh, absolutely. So, as we wrap things up, this has been a phenomenal conversation about positive aging and what you can make from your life where you are right now. Share with us, Lisa, how to find you, what your website is, what your Facebook page is for vegging, all the digits and contact points.
Thank you so much for asking. Well, everything can be found at my website, lisamurphyllc.com. There will be links to my social. I am on Facebook. That's where I do Veg with Lisa. The Veg with Lisa videos are all on YouTube as well. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. And but if you go to my website, you can contact me. You can find all the links. And what I would really like to point out, since you asked, I appreciate that, Brenda. Um, there's a link on my website to book a 20-minute call. If anyone wants to continue this conversation, I would be delighted to hop on a complimentary call just to sort of see where you're at and how I might be able to support you with resources going forward. Yeah, you can book that in on my website.
That would be terrific. And I can't recommend Lisa enough. She is just deeply committed to this movement. I've just been applauding her from Kansas City. So definitely she gets my highest endorsement. Don't go away. We're going to sign off for now. Thank you for listening and supporting the Wellness Whisperer and believing in the positivity of aging well on your terms.
Thanks, Brenda.